Welcome. I think it's
Thank you.
Ambassador Linken
Yes.
Berryman.
Yes.
Okay, good.
You're good.
Yeah. It's such a delight having you here at Seniors Hub, uh, and also thanks to Animo and the group for doing the logistics and arranging this. Um, so for today, I think we are hosting this is a special event because it's the Women Month, and we kind of like this is the cherry on top of the cake in terms of all the activities that have been happening this month for the Women Month. Last week we had a celebration here, poetry event with music, just celebrating women in South Sudan with different performances. So it's a delight to have you here today.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
and thank you for that welcome.
Yeah.
It's I feel very honored to be here with you. I'm very impressed with what has been going on the last 2 years in this space, what you've been able to create. And I'm very happy to be able to be here today to speak to you
Yeah.
and to engage the audience, I hope.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So to start with, maybe for the benefit of the individuals who are not listening to my introduction, maybe you can just tell us maybe what's your name and what the kind of work do you do in South Sudan?
Absolutely. My name is Linken Berryman. I'm the ambassador to South Sudan. I started my job here in end of September last year, so just about half a year I've been here. And I come from Norway. I used to live in Oslo before I came here. I have a husband and 3 children at home.
Okay.
So I get to see them occasionally. But yes,
Yeah.
that's me.
Okay, and so just a little bit, maybe us, some of us here, whenever we see a white person in South Sudan, it's like American.
Yeah.
So just so that we don't confuse a lot of things, maybe you can just tell us this country, Norway, where is it and what is it about? Maybe a little bit about
That's
that.
a good idea. So Norway is all the way up there in northern parts of Europe. We are next to the North Pole. There's an ocean between us and the North Pole, but the northern part of Norway is beyond the Arctic Circle. So in the am I doing something wrong? Okay. In the summertime, we have long, long days where the sun doesn't set until 11 or 12 at night. And it rises again about 3:30, so you don't get much sleep if you don't pull your curtains over the windows. But it's a country, we are only 6 million, almost 6 million, but it's a long stretch country. Lots of fisheries and shipping over, since the Viking times. We have a very long coastline. We are a oil and gas producing nation, which is very similar, to South Sudan, and lots of fish exports.
Impressive. Actually, an oil-producing country, just like
Correct.
us. Norway had a very long history with South Sudan, or the history predated the existence of what we call South Sudan now.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We were here since about the 1960s.
Wow.
Yeah, we supported the struggle for an independent nation very early on.
Yeah.
We were supporting South Sudanese out in the bush during the struggle,
Yeah.
and we've been here since then.
Yeah, and I think that relationship continues even until today. Norway probably yes, the embassy there, but also several Norwegian other organizations also still continue to exist in South Sudan.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
have the Norwegian Church Aid, Norwegian People's Aid, Norwegian Refugee Council. We have a lot of NGOs who are still very much engaged here,
Yeah.
and a lot of individual Norwegians who have met, who are very much engaged and involved, even now from Norway, from the side of being far away. But there's a lot of interest in this country
Yeah.
from our side.
Kind of to segue into your own personal journey, maybe you can tell us a little bit where you grew up and how you kind of started your journey into
Thank
this.
you.
Okay.
And thank you for that. I grew up in the southern parts of Norway, a very small town, almost like a village. And I had always was very interested in other cultures and meeting people from other parts of the world. So I knew that I wanted to work internationally. I grew up, it's very, in a family of, we were 3 sisters. My father was a priest in the church in my village. We had a good, safe childhood there, and then went to university in Oslo, and got engaged in international work as a student. I always admired the UN because they were really like at the forefront on supporting peace and stability and development in a more of a fair world. I always admired that. That was my first sort of
engagement with international.
yes.
Yeah, and so like you finished your studies in Oslo.
Yes, I did.
And then from there on, you remain in the country, or you ventured out?
I ventured out. I went to Mongolia.
Mongolia.
Yes, in between Russia and China.
A lot of horses.
Lots of horses and camels and
Yeah.
yes, lots of horses. That's what they're famous for. I was there for almost 4 years working with the United Nations.
Oh.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yes.
Wow. So from there on, where do you go next?
Then I started working for the Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I was working on UN issues also then at the ministry.
I mean, I kind of like, since this is the Women Month and we're
Yes.
speaking about that, what kind of like societal or situational? I don't want to assume that there are no challenges for women in Norway, since you guys always rank on top in terms of supporting women. What kind of societal or situational kind of challenges does a lady go into when starting her journey and working through the UN or through the foreign ministry? By then,
I think I was very lucky because we had already seen so many female leaders in Norway. I grew up at a time where people would ask their parents, "Is it possible for a man to be a prime minister?" Because we've had a female minister prime minister for so long, and so a lot happened during, right before I became a young person. That the women who went before me had fought the battle of take part in society, and of course I think women's issues always need to be tended to. We're not there yet. We're not on fully equal terms in all specters. I think we still have things that we need to work on. But I can say that also what we have learned in Norway is that involving women in the workforce has actually meant more for the economy of Norway than the oil sector.
wow.
So engaging women really is the key for development.
Yeah. So, kind of like joining the foreign ministry, at what stage did you start like your probably like leadership role within the ministry?
Maybe 10 years ago, I was in I was posted in the embassy in Washington D.C. and had my first leadership position there, not as an ambassador, but as a department head. And then I went on in leadership positions after that.
So from that department head, the thing on your mind was like, the next thing is your is ambassadorial.
Yeah. And I can say that I never really had, like, I want to be an ambassador, but what my drive was, I want to be there where decisions are being made. I want to be participating in those areas where we can see, I can get a view of what's happening, I can make my own analysis, and I can be part of that discussion of where we move forward. That was my real goal. It wasn't my goal, I would want that position or this position, but more of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to achieve.
Yeah, and I think the embassy in Washington probably it's a very busy place, I guess.
It was very busy,
Yeah.
very, very busy. It's our maybe most important
mission.
post. Yeah.
So, talk me through the process of kind of like being a head of department in the embassy in Washington, and then somehow then coming to South Sudan, just kind of like a very tiny dot when it comes to probably like some of these international issues, UN security and stuff like that.
Yes. Coming though from being engaged with our mission in Washington D.C., there were different issues, obviously, but this really touches my heart and engagement much more. This is the position I really wanted, is to come to South Sudan. I learned a lot about South Sudan. I wanted real challenge, and it's real challenge being here.
Yeah, it is.
And there is a lot of opportunity as well to be engaged in very issues that really make sense and give insight to the society here.
Yeah, and I kind of also like going back to what we discussed earlier on about this issue of like being a woman and engaged in this. You, as you stated, you're a mother. You have what, 2 kids?
3 kids.
Three
I have.
kids.
Yeah, that is hard to be away from your children. But now, my youngest is 18. Okay. So I have one who's in high school, and I have one son who's doing mandatory training in the military, all the way up north on the Russian border.
Wow!
So he's watching the Russian border. And he's watching the the Northern Lights and the reindeer as well.
Maybe you should explain to us a little bit about the Northern Lights.
Yes, and it's beautiful. It's in the northern hemisphere. We are due to storms, sunstorms, sun on around the sun. It creates this. I don't have the right explanation probably, but it creates an atmosphere where you will see on the sky in the evening. You will see floating lights, green and blue and yellow. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's all over the sky, and people come from all over the world to see this. It's all the way up north. We can see it sometimes in the south, but it's not so strong as in the north.
If we see this here, we'll call it witchcraft.
Yeah.
That is the closest explanation we can.
Right.
We can come to. The subject of the discussion today is like engaging women and youth coming to this country. I mean, I don't know what kind of portfolio that Norway handles here, but this country has been embroiled in conflict. I mean, 2 of them, 2 major ones, floods, intercommunal violence, and gender-based violence, all kind of rows of issues that are kind of like facing. And youth and women, they kind of like center of this. We have a very young population. People say like around 70-75%. Women, a lot of the households are led by women. So from your desk, what kind of issues or challenges do you see?
Well, as you may be aware, Norway have been involved in the implementation of the peace agreement, or much longer before that. But that's one of our main targets, as we are here, is to see and help push the implementation of the peace agreement. Peace and security is the most important for this country, first of all, and the involvement of women in peace and security is high on our agenda. We believe you can only have real change if the women is involved in the decision making, deciding how things should be, and driving the development forward. So that is one thing. It's we had hoped. We've been involved for, as I said, more than 50 years. We had high hopes when there was a new nation in the new nation in 2011, and we're disappointed by the wars. But we don't lose hope. We see there is hope. We want to see the peace agreement being implemented And I think the young people, especially, is something we are looking to for their involvement. That's going to change.
How has this, I mean, when the new country was born, there were a lot of hopes, but then with this has that kind of like shifted Norway's investment and approach to dealing with South Sudan over the past few years, from high hopes to like a lot of
bumps in the road.
Yeah.
We actually have been a steady partner through the whole time. We kept our investment in development aid, humanitarian aid, our involvement in the peace agreement implementation. We're the second biggest donor to H.E Amb and RJMAC, and we continue. We believe that South Sudan need consistent partners, but also partners that can speak openly to the government of what our concerns are, and we do. We
through
engage.
Troika, I guess.
And bilaterally, both bilaterally. I think Norway has, for all these years, built up a very good relationship and trust with the people of South Sudan, and we try to build on that and strengthen the trust that we want to see our common goals of peace and security in this country. But we obviously also do a lot through the Troika.
So when you meet, I think probably more often, ambassadors probably travel this country more than I do, and more than a lot of us here do. When you travel to these places, to Upper Nile or to Unity, and I think Greater People or where it is, or when you receive the reports and you see some of this stuff, like how does one maintain hopefulness in the sight and the kind of hearing, seeing all this that's happening?
You know, I think hope is a choice. I choose to keep the hope. I feel the suffering of the people that I meet. And I will always feel the suffering, but I will never lose hope. Because I see in people's faces there is hope and there is happiness, despite everything that people have gone through. I see a lot of talent and people who want to do the right things in this country.
In these places. And I think probably that also comes to the theme of the people who are here. And I think I was discussing with some of the youth here, and I was saying, like, you know, a lot of the to pursue normalcy in the face of challenges, defiance also, like there is a lot of some of the work that the youth are creating here, poetry, music, and all this. It's an act of, it's also an act of hope.
It is.
Yeah, because you come to Juba, you're like, okay, this Juba place. So, but there is a lot of work that is being created in terms of artistic expression. It's also like contributing to that, building an atmosphere of hope. Before I open it up for questions, which I think like a lot of people here will have a questions. When you look at the kind of the future trajectory, both from Norway's involvement in this country and also from your desk, what do you see, like the coming years?
For our involvement?
Yeah.
Well, I see that we will keep being involved in the peace process. I see us being involved in development and humanitarian aid, and I hope that will shift to development.
To development more?
Yes, that we don't need. I hope that there's going to be less need for humanitarian aid. I know that that's not true for the coming year, but that is our continued hope, and what we strive for is to see change, and especially also open civic space, freedom of speech, the access of basic services of education and health. You know, a lot of things still we'd like to see happening. We will stay involved in this for the people of South Sudan.
Because when, like, as an oil-producing country, Norway has made a very good use of its resource and the oil, even using it to shift to green like someone's saying that there are more Teslas in Oslo.
Yeah. Wow, you're well read.
Yeah, there are a lot of Teslas in Oslo, and people are using that. But they're creating a fund for supporting transition and all that. When you look at South Sudan, you must think like, damn, these guys, they need to get it.
I think a lot of people get it. But I think there are a lot of smart people here who get it. But there are struggles and there are challenges that need to overcome. And I think one of the lessons we have learned from the time we have been here is that development takes time. It takes time, and there are setbacks, and it's hard to watch the setbacks. But when it comes to green energy, there's a lot of opportunities in this country for a green energy transition. Yes, we are going through part of it ourselves. Hydropower we are run by hydropower in Norway. That is the main energy source for us. And hydropower here could be immense. But, I'm not an expert in these issues. Solar panels, solar energy and everything. There's
what
so
about
many.
generators?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that's another one.
That's another one. But I think probably like we can South Sudan maybe has the opportunity to even leapfrog the process in terms of green energy.
Yes.
We can do wind, we can do hydro, solar, and so many even off-grid solutions and stuff like that. Probably faster than if things are put right.
I agree. You can leapfrog in a lot of sectors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I can see that there is a very observant audience here. I think so that we don't monopolize the discussion. I'll open it up for questions. For those who've just joined us, the ambassador and I have been discussing both her journey in the foreign service in Norway, and also the work of Norway in South Sudan. Norway's contribution to South Sudan predated the CPA. They've been here for 50 years. Some of us have been here for 5 years. So it just shows you that there is longevity in this engagement. So I'll open it up for questions or comments, discussions. This is an open thing for the youth. So you can just, if you're at the back, you can come closer to that far end and just tell us your name and you can ask your question. Okay, I can see there is a hand in front from Dictor.
Okay, my name is Jago John. I'm a medical doctor. My question to Ambassador, will the situations of Russian invasion to Ukraine and all the circumstances will have impact in Norwegian support to South Sudan in terms of financial support, because some of countries now are shifting their support to Africa and SETWAL in order to support Ukraine and to strengthen their defense in the face of Russian aggression. Shukran. Thank you a lot.
Thank you so much. That's a very valid question. I said, no, we have been able to keep up our support to South Sudan. We have a tiny slight decrease, but it's very, very little. We keep a very high budget for South Sudan. South Sudan is one of our biggest receivers of foreign aid, and that remains. So we've been able to secure the foreign aid and development aid and humanitarian aid to South Sudan.
Has Norway itself, like in terms of foreign office, this Russian invasion, has it shifted and adjusted a lot of things?
Oh yeah, it has certainly shifted a lot of things around, for sure. Because there is need for us to support the Ukrainian people, and we have a lot of refugees in Norway that we want to support and need to support, and we support Ukraine in various ways. So yes, there has been shifts around, but the government has also been able to keep many priorities high on the agenda at the same time.
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you also for taking your time to come and spend it with young people. I have two questions. One is on the youth peace and security agenda. When Chargé Julius Egbemi was here, he mentioned that Canada is the co-chair for women, peace and security together with Norway. And I just wanted to find out if there are any lessons you think the youth peace and security agenda can learn from the women, peace and security agenda, and if there can be any form of synergies. The next question is on the energy transition. I think in 2015, I'm not very sure, Norway was partially supporting the Fulla Dam's hydro project. I think because of the crisis, that sort of disappeared or it's put on hold. I just wanted to find out if there are still prospects that that will come back. I mean, as part of moving towards development, because we've all seen what JEDCO, having the Juba electricity, has done, even if it's just in Juba alone, and probably having Fulla being reinstated would be a more sustainable way. So since Norway was sort of helping, I think they also supported the Ministry of Energy to set up that building and the solar panels that are on that ministry. So is this something that Norway is thinking about restarting, or where is that project really? Thank you.
Thank you. When it comes to the women, peace and security agenda and the youth and peace and security agenda, yes, I think there are synergies that could be learned. I think one thing I just wanted to mention, which I learned from the Nobel Peace Prize winner Lema Gbowe, when she was here for the Women, Peace and Security, the Women's Conference earlier this year. And what she said, which has struck me as a very important point, is that they were able to move the agenda forward in Liberia, where she comes from, due to that they were able to gather together around set goals. If we can gather around set goals, and she was saying that you don't have to like each other, you don't have to, be going out with each other. I think you were there too, and the trying to find set goals that we work together on. We can only reach good results if we are able to reach across to the other side of the ones that we may not agree with. If we can overcome those hurdles of disagreement and come up with some common goals, we can really move the agendas forward. I think I don't know how much the youth peace and security agenda has moved forward here, but the women, peace and security agenda is, there's a set a good structure around it, and I think if we could sit together and discuss how we can work together, that would be one way to do it. There are national plans being developed, and I think that's naturally one area that should be looked into. How can we learn from making national plans on the implementation of this agenda? When it comes to Norway's investment and engagement in energy sector, we do not have any investments as of now. We were very much involved for many years in the oil sector, especially on setting and creating laws on how to use the oil funds, etc., to the best of the South Sudanese people. If that was implemented, I think a lot could be achieved with the funds from oil sector. We would like to promote Norwegian businesses to be involved here, but the peace and security, we need to move. We have to have some step forwards on that before we can actually see that Norwegian businesses will be willing to take risks in South Sudan as of now. But we hope that will change with more of a secure environment. Can I say when we as you go on with your questions, but I just wanted to say that what you're doing in culture, in art, is a very important part of nation building, and and I really support you in continuing, what you're doing, because I think that that opportunity for people to be able to express themselves through cultural means is important to feel togetherness, and it's a platform for meeting people in various sectors also.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's actually one of the challenges we've been facing is because of South Sudan's struggles. The discussion around art. I've been having discussions here with poets. A lot of people don't take them seriously. I mean, and that's what this not take them seriously in the sense of kind of saying like, that's a nice poem, but like saying like, okay, this is actually part of changing perspective and changing mindsets. Because some of the most famous revolutions have been through expression, through art, through writing, and even changing perception. So, but it's been very difficult to push the cultural movement, especially among the youth, and then bring it as a substantive nation-building aspects. Because when people express, when people sing, like right now in this space, 2 weeks ago we had a hip-hop artist who organized something here. And for me, usually I say like, I might not understand your art, but I understand your seriousness.
Yeah.
And I saw them here, like a lot of people were singing. Other people, all of them knew the songs. I mean, apart from a few of us. All of them knew the songs. They were chanting and they were moving around here. And you could see that these are people who are really creating their own new version of expression. That could be hip-hop, that is poetry, art, and there are several of these groups. And I think the discussion has been like, how can this snowball into something bigger? How can we then move this and move it into something bigger? Are there youth group who are engaging in cattle wrestling who can then convert that energy into expression? Are there groups who are engaging in, not far from here, we have a lot of young people who are just alcoholics and they don't have avenue to kind of express themselves. So it's been quite a challenge, especially trying to do that in South Sudan, yeah.
No, I can imagine. And but keep up that good work.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you also, we have tried for 13 years to move forward on the agenda of, we have promised to build the National Archives of South Sudan. Where part of that archive is, it's the history. It's the history of South Sudan. So, identity and history and then cultural expression, it all goes together. I think it's very important. It's important work that you're doing.
I know it is. And for us here, like, for me, let me say, for me in the management team here, our role is to provide the springboard for other people to kind of do that. Because when you look at South Sudan, the barriers to expression are actually very material at times. That is, when people talk about the civic space can be hindered through oppression, but it can also be hindered through lack of resources. And that's one of the ways that we see here. Okay, usually I talk with my team, I was like, okay, if someone comes here with nothing, they just show up, a young person with nothing apart from their voice, can they organize an event? We're like, yeah, they can. And can someone just come here and sit and do something? You're like, yeah, we can, maybe, okay, let's try. One of the discussions we've been having is, and still very nascent, we've been having discussions on doing free snacks, like tea and some biscuits. Because the idea we were thinking about, like, okay, what if actually someone has the intention to come here, has the ability to say and do something, but maybe they're hungry. Yeah, they're not asking for huge lunch, but they just maybe want a cup of tea and something, and then they continue. And I think when I look at South Sudan and the hindrance to kind of expression and creation is those kind of things. Those small step, open space, free Wi-Fi, free word, and then friction with other people. Because when you come here, you see other people doing stuff, then you're like, okay, maybe I think I should be I should be in this.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Setting a good example and opening up doors
Yep.
for others. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're doing the right thing. And then joining join, see, join other forces who can reinforce what you're trying to do.
Yep. I think I think I can actually like really call on I don't know, is Grace here? Grace is not around? Grace and out? Grace is there. Yeah, super. You can come to the front. Actually, I can call on Grace. She's very brilliant. So Grace is, her and her group, they're in this university called Stafford. And Grace actually leads a very interesting, they lead and work on a very interesting group. They have women in tech and young people in tech. And they also do a lot of mentorship for girls in education. You know what? Let me not undersell you. Maybe you're a whole president. Let me know. If you can just tell the ambassador a little bit of what you do and what's the impact of that. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gasso Grace Pascal. I'm a university student at Stafford International University, and I'm studying computer science. We recently started a club in the university last year. It's called Google Developer Students Club. In this club, we use Google resources to learn different technologies. It's mainly personal learning. Where we can, we invite different tech professionals to come and add more knowledge on what we already have. Then this year we participated in the 2023 Solution Challenge, and we created a couple of apps that we're going to submit this week. It's in relation to the SDG goals. Create an app that relates in that. How do I say it? Like create an app that solves one of those SDG goals of the UN. So we're able to create 3 medical apps yet to be launched. Then there is a malware app for climate change. Then there is one for decent work and economic growth. Then there is also another one for, I think I've forgotten the 6th one, but to mention but a few. So that's what we mainly do. Together with NCA, we also started an incubation period for 6 months, where we're going to work more on the apps. Even though they don't get accepted by Google, we can employ them here in our country, South Sudan, for the betterment. Yeah, basically that is all. Do you have any questions?
Well, that's very exciting what you're doing. What is the target group?
Mainly university students, but we also welcome anyone who's interested in tech. Because yes, you may have finished senior 4, but you're unable to go to the university. So you may have started your personal learning via like YouTube and other social media platforms. So you're also welcome to join the group if you're interested in tech and other things. It's okay, not mainly a tech space, because yes, tech refers to computers and all, but we want everyone to join, because in these different aspects that you work in, like maybe a medical app, we need somebody who has experience in the medical field to come and give us more input about it, or how the hospitals work and all that.
That's really exciting. Congratulations, yes. And even better, women being the technology experts. I love it. She has many hats.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity, and good evening to everyone. Yes, another hat is that I'm a spoken word artist, and I started performing in South Sudan in 2017. Then when we used to perform, it was basically us poets performing we were performance at the same time. We were our very own audience, and it used to be under the Kelly mat. We started as Anata band, but we felt the need to just be exclusive, because being more exclusive would give us the opportunity to grow more and to be noticed more when we were under our own umbrella. So we used to have poetry sessions at Jamajuba University at the French corner. French corner. So what I'm glad is the growth that we have seen in poetry. And like you mentioned, we were then the pioneers, but right now there are various poetry organizations that have come up. And currently, like you mentioned, the Writers Hub. I'm not part of Writers Hub, but I work with them closely, and they reached out to me for when they have events to also be part of them, and I appreciate them for that. And the beauty about art is it is up to you how you want to express. You are not limited, and that's the beauty about art. It doesn't limit you. It's just you expressing yourself, and how the community, again, how they will, the reception you get. So there are different people who want different kind of poetry. And we appreciate the fact that there are now emerging new ones, because the current ones, they also have their own crowd. And you'll find with Writers Hub, it's a lot of the young, the audience is a lot of young people. And you can find it is because they can understand the language of those young poets. They're speaking their language. And you'll find I may be speaking a language of something, of another audience. So it's very important that we have that diversity. And also, like you mentioned earlier, that art is a very important tool that leads to change of revolutions, because it's more of changing the mindset. And in South Sudan, what we need is to change how people look at things. That is the first step. When we're able to be cautiously up here in our brains, it will help us to change the negative cultural aspects that inbuilt. Yeah, thank you.
I think I couldn't agree more. It is a very important tool for expression and art, for art itself. It has such a value. Experiencing, I've been here and experienced that. Just experience the performance here in itself. It gives new insight. It's fulfilling to be part of it. So art has as a tool, but art also for art itself.
Art itself. You know, someone said, like, some artist saying, like, you know what, I do the songs and whatever, but I'm the first consumer of that. Because it's, I think it was Grayson Perry, some British artist. He was saying that I'm the first consumer of the art because I enjoy it. Yeah. And then now we have the secondary consumers of the art is now the audience that enjoys it. For those who are just joining us, this is an evening with Linken Berryman, the Norwegian Ambassador to South Sudan. And we have exhausted a lot of issues, a range of issues, including from Norway's investment in South Sudan, the prospects of peace, youth, women and security. We discussed everything from the Northern Lights to the foreign affairs of to the foreign affairs from the Norwegian government. And we have an audience of diverse, young-ish people. And we're engaging on we're just having a discussion. So if you have a comment or a question, just raise your hand. I'll pass the mic to you. I can see there is a hand there from, there is a hand at the back, and then there is a hand here from that. But before that, let me allow Hako to speak. Hako is also one of our creators here. He's a YouTuber. So let me allow just Hako to say a little bit of what he does, and then we can move to a just question.
All right. I'm thankful to be here, right? To be given this opportunity. Like, my name is Hako Heiko Kari. I'm like a YouTube vlogger and a social media influencer. Like, I'm like more interested in like changing the narrative of my country, like through creating visuals of positive content about this country's like economic, social, and artistic potential. Like, I'm like I don't know what to say, but I'm like I'm more into like making videos of like I mean I say towards like I'm more into like tourist destinations and like real estate vlog. That's what I do. I'm like trying to prove to people that South Sudan is not what they think. It's not that so bad, right? Like trying to tell them like there's more positive side to this country than is commonly portrayed on social media. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. So
I mean, it's very interesting. So I met Hako here like about like a month ago, because you come to the space, I see this kid sitting in the corner with a laptop that is extremely worn out. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, I'm a vlogger, and what? And for me, I hear a lot of people telling me that. I'm like, okay, let me see, let me see the goods. And I look at the stuff. He's really good. He's creating these nice videos, vlogging, and trying what. So I was telling him, you know what? Come and hang out and join our team, like people who do video professionally to do that. But I think, I mean, the sub-theme of that is that like there are so many people who are doing things on different layers, and I think all of that contributes to some extent, yeah. Wajia, you can ask your question, then we'll move the mic to the back.
Okay, thank you, Nelson. I think I'm tall enough for everyone to see me. My name is H.E Emmanuel. I am a journalist, but I'm also a Wikimedian. So I believe we all know journalism. So Wikimedia is a global movement that aims in bringing free educational content to the world. So apparently that is what I am basically focused on, training a number of young people to write Wikimedia stories. Our main focus at the moment is, of course, writing Wikipedia content about South Sudan and all of that. So I don't know whether this question has been asked because I came late, but my focus is going to basically be on the petroleum side of this discussion. Petroleum basically is the main resource for this country. Like it contributes to, they say, 80%, 90% of the revenue for South Sudan. Previously, I scheduled for an interview with the previous Norwegian ambassador, but I did not succeed. And I'm happy that I've met you here. So Norway is the pioneer, if I can say, that developed the Petroleum Management Act and the Petroleum Revenue Management Act for South Sudan. From all the stories that we've been reading and from all the stories that we see and things that are happening in this country, from the petroleum point of view, it seems to me, like who have been really, seeing things happening in my own country, revenue generated from the petroleum has not been managed to the maximum. And of course, this is like a kind of a project that Norway invested a lot, seeing into it that they had to develop an act that manages, that is used to regulate the revenue, the use of revenue that is generated from the petroleum. So my question is, what is the assessment of the Norwegian government of their support in ensuring that the revenue generated from the oil sector is put into use? And these acts, the Petroleum Management Act and the Petroleum Act, are they being respected by these government institutions? And if they are not, what steps is the Norwegian government going to undertake to see into it that South Sudanese benefit from this and these resources are put into the rightful use as expected by these regulations? Thank you.
Okay, you people don't intimidate the ambassadors next time.
Thank you for the question. It's a very valid question, a very important question. Because accountability, budget accountability and transparency in this country is extremely important for being able to move forward on making sure funds are allocated, dispersed and used the way the government intends it to be spent, or has said that they intend it to be spent. We work on that oversight committee on budget issues, because we want and help push South Sudan to be more transparent about where is that oil income, how much is it, and how is it being spent. We are working on it. My colleague here, he can give you all the details about how that is being worked on, because there's a need of a transparency, accountability. Also that goes along with the implementation of the legislation that you're talking about. If the government would implement the legislation, you would be in, there would be a lot of progress. So it is a challenge. We have learned in Norway that complete transparency of how funds are generated and how it's used. We can go in on on the website and see how much our sovereign fund is today. We can ask how and see how it's been measured. It was decided the oil of Norway, oil and gas income of Norway should be very carefully handled for future generations. So we are only using a certain percentage of the funds, or what the funds are making per year. You can 3%. We only 3% of what the funds are, the investments that are made per year. So we're keeping it very low of what we are using of the oil and gas income. Also, for many reasons, we don't want to overflow the economy. But the savings are being put into big investments internationally. We're investing in corporations, all kinds of businesses around the world. So that's a savings for the future of the Norwegian population. And it has been an agreement with all the parties in Norway that this is what we need to do. There's been temptations to dig into that fund, but they government has said no. Then we all know that we need that safety. So that has been a very good learning experience for us, that we have that savings for future generations, and we've been able to.
How much are you guys saving?
Yeah, so saving or putting it into valuable investment that can again generate gains for the future. So, but you're saying oil sector, but there are so many natural resources in this country that if it was managed correctly, the income could be quite high. We do see some improvement in some of the sectors of income or tax generation over the past years. So there is good work being done. The revenue, yes. Not only income. Yeah.
Actually, the revenue is getting increased, but the use of revenue is just going, if you like, to the few people. And this is still a question. In terms of handling how the revenue to be increased, that is correct, but how to be used, this is the problem. And here we have a lot of questions that need answers, So I'm wondering if you can actually, as Norwegian, teach South Sudanese how to use this one after being collected.
I think the ambassador clearly said earlier on that South Sudanese, they're very knowledgeable. So I don't know, but that's a very question. It's like, I think a lot of people, and that's also, we see this in international development language, this question of capacity, this question of knowledge. But I think the question of intention and political will, yeah, because some of these people, you meet them in these cocktails or whether, you can say they're reasonably learned.
They will what?
I said you meet them at Radisson Blue or where these people are really, education is there.
Oh yes, people know. They're smart people. Is that what you're saying? Yes.
Yeah.
A lot
They're
of people
very
know how
smart.
to- and there's a lot of capacity. We hope to see more political will to implement what has been, what the government has said that they will implement. And I think it's a work in progress with being open on financial income. It's a work in progress, and there are steps being taken all the time. We work very closely with the Minister of Finance. Other institutions, the IMF is working very, they have that kind of technical capacity. It's taking time. We are impatient. We want to see progress. And that's part of why we're here.
What is the balance and the linkages between like peace and then proper management of the funds? Because clearly, like whenever there is insecurity, like there is rampant, just lack of accountability and the rest. So how do you kind of put that balance together? Ensure that you push for this peace so that people see spending money on guns or running with money, and then kind of like moving towards development.
Yeah, I think it's a multi-pronged approach. We need to work on many different, in many different sectors and areas to push for accountability. Of course, the conflicts are starting because of funds, going the wrong way, for sure. It is a major issue in this country.
Okay, let me. I can see there was a hand at the back. Let me see if there is any other question. Okay, maybe the two gentlemen who have questions, can you just walk to the front so that you just stand here and then ask your question to make it easy for our media folks. The gentleman here, the gentleman in t-shirt, and the gentleman in suit.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is John Marit from the GDSC University of Juba. I was happy that by the time I came here, my colleague was already representing us. And also, the good thing is 30% of the people here, 30% of the people here are from GDSC University of Juba. This is so great. My question is, like to the Norwegian embassy, like, do you support technology? What technology activities do you really support at your embassy? That is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelson, for giving me the opportunity, and good evening, Ambassador Linken. Very glad to be here today, and I'm called Dr. Wane Bosco from Doctors Actively Serving in Africa. If you hear that name, you might think that it is an organization that has been formed outside South Sudan, but it is an indigenous organization formed by South Sudanese medical doctors and a multidisciplinary team. We are located at Women Union premises. So my question is about, we are talking about women and youth engagement in diplomacy. And I came a little bit late, and apologies for that. And then my question is, what's the role of the Norwegian embassy or Norwegian government with regards to women and youth engagement in medical diplomacy in South Sudan? Thank you.
I think the first gentleman, you should have asked a question of like, will the embassy support our group? So that it is.
It's very clear.
Yeah. We don't want to support, I mean, it's okay, you have all the technology, but our technology.
Right.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I cannot answer your question really very well. So maybe I will invite you to come to my embassy and we'll have a meeting about it.
Super.
And
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think
And then women and girls in medical technology.
Yeah.
Diplomacy.
Medical diplomacy or medical outreach, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, medical field is where the health sector, we are not engaged in the health sector. I think we're engaged in almost any sector, but not the health sector. So I'm sorry to say I don't have either a very positive response to your question. We have, unfortunately, we're not in that sector.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any hand at the back before I kind of like close? Yes. Okay, Adeng. I think this will be the last one so that we don't kind of go over time. Yeah. Oh yeah, that interview that you missed, you want to exhaust it here?
Good evening. I'm actually glad to come here. It's my first session in the evening in Sinners Hub. Thank you to H.E for inviting me. My name is Adeng Lik and I work for Nonviolent Peace Force. But my question that is really burning me and is paining me is that you have said that you build the capacity of the government, especially the Ministry of Finance, as well as also supporting the petroleum, Ministry of Petroleum or even the government of South Sudan. But now, regarding the sustainability of that capacity building, how is it even sustainable? Because I see the moment you might build capacity of some individual in the ministries, and then the next day they are sacked. And then how is the Norway feeling about that? Or what do you think is the sustainability of this thing? Or what is your advice sometimes to the government regarding these kind of things? Because today you will invest on this, and tomorrow you find the person is either sacked, or today you invest in an activist, the next day you find the person is in asylum. It's a lot of issues to come with that. So this thing has really pained me when you said you build the capacity. I feel like I need all this, the capacity, because I want to be here and make the changes, as much as all of us. But these changes in the government all the time, it's not healthy. So how do you think about it and how do you feel?
Thank you. Of course, well, first of all, I will say that education and capacity building is hardly ever in total vain. I believe that once you have built capacity or you participate in education, it's something you can take with you wherever you go. That is what's the power of education. But yes, we do see people are shifted around and you have to start over again. And I think that's one of our lessons from here is that we have to be patient, not give up. This small change is important. But we also stay engaged with the government a lot on keeping capacity and keeping in place what has been built. So it's a partnership. And we have decided we will not give up. And as I said, I don't think education or training is in vain. If you can keep it, stay with you, it will stay with you.
I think probably that's the point that I want to underscore when she says, don't you think like certain individuals who have institutional knowledge needs a bit of security of tenure or a bit of longevity to implement some of these reforms? I mean, when you look at the Ministry of Finance, you look at the Central Bank, the Ministry of Petroleum, there are even agreements that are signed for 5-10 years. And how can someone be so, as if this individual is so temporal in their assignment, yet they're handling things that are so long-term?
Yeah. But that is also true for any democracy, that even if there's a new minister or a new politician coming in, you have to keep the government accountable. It shouldn't walk out the door. New agreement shouldn't walk out the door with the minister. That's a responsibility of the government at large to keep promises and keep the plans in place. They can change certain things, but yeah.
Okay. People, I want to allow the ambassador also to. I don't want to be listed for like making the ambassador stay past the curfew, but like my DG, my executive director Marina Modi is raising her hand. I don't want to get into problems, so let me pass to her the mic. Both Animo and Woja have asked questions, so.
All right, thank you, Nelson. You won't get into trouble. Madam Ambassador, it's a pleasure to have you at our space today. Last year, we happened to work with partners who are actually part of the Universal UPR, okay? So what it does is every 5 years do a set report of all the UN members in regards to human rights and all that. Of course, some of the things that relate to human rights in one or the other. What we found impressive is the engagement of Norway in regards to recommendations to South Sudan. Made recommendations, shared ideas on how South Sudan could solve some of the problems. Norway tops the chart, actually. So we do appreciate the engagement of that, because we know this is a partnership between the civil society and also the diplomatic foreign offices that are here as well. So my question is, how open is your office? Because I think this was the first time South Sudan was making these submissions in collaboration with the national organizations. It is in our hopes to continue these engagements and then monitoring, so that in the next cycle, probably we'll see what the changes or the adjustments have been in the system so far. So the question is, how open is your office to that?
Marina is the director, is executive director of DeFi Head now, South Sudan. And for the benefit of the audience, the UPR, the Universal Periodic Reviews, happens every 5 years, and countries kind of ranked and given recommendations on their human rights and freedom of expression records. I think DeFi Head now was co-sponsor of a series of recommendation and review for South Sudan's Universal Periodic submission, which happened last year. And I think probably the question is, what is the continuity plan if part of those recommendations are brought to your office?
Oh, if those recommendations that, from the UPR? From here, that it's from here, or the ones that are delivered at the.
I think Norway made comments at the one that were delivered. Yeah. At the Human Rights Council.
Yes, we make comments just like anybody who's involved in these processes, and other countries' comments on ours when we go through the same process when Norway is being looked at. This is a very important initiative or processes that I think we would always like to be involved in and discuss. So I'm open to that kind of a discussion again. I'm not sure how it happened last time, but I think we really believe and put a lot of efforts into these processes. Yeah. And we also use them for our engagement. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Ambassador Linken Berryman, thank you for coming for an evening with, and thank you for being in Seniors Hub today.
Thank you. And
Nelson. Yeah. So next on Thursday, Ambassador, there is a guy named Rapper Hot Dog. Have you heard of him? Yeah, it's the hot dog, the hot dog. So, so Rafa hot dog will be here on the. So he'll be here on Thursday for an evening with Rafa hot dog.
Very nice. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. So
that's exciting.
yeah, so everyone who showed up for an evening with the ambassador, also make an attempt to come and attend an evening with Rafa hot dog. It's slightly not on diplomacy, but equally spiced up and and interesting. Thank you. Any parting shots as we conclude?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here this afternoon and for your questions. I would really like to continue the discussion. Maybe we can do it another time. But I also want to wish the whole engagement here all the best of luck for the time to come. You're doing an important job. And art and culture as part of it as well. I wish you good luck with that part. And yeah, very, very happy to be here. And I wish all the best for the young people of South Sudan. We really put our hope in the youth for the time to come.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I think probably like the gentleman, you earlier on, you were actually telling the ambassador what is the percentage of the investment. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about your name and what you do as a final thing. Yeah, maybe this is the person that the youth need to contact.
Yes, thank you very much, Nelson. My name is Jonas Ervik. I'm the political and economic advisor at the Norwegian Embassy. So if you have any questions about the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund, I'll be here. Just ask me anything. Yeah, so thank you all for showing up tonight.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ambassador.